Hello again, Edwina Murphy-Droomer here, founder of EUDAIMONIA, and today is number 13 in the Nutrition 101 series. Today's question is, everybody seems to be talking about probiotics. Is this just another fad? And if not, what should I be looking for? Well, first and foremost, it's definitely not another fad. But what I want to do is take a step back and look at the why before I tell you the what and what we need to be incorporating into our diet. So in 2003, they did what was called the Human Genome Project, and this was going to be a fantastic body of information that would allow us to determine what diseases people were likely to get and also provide information for all sorts of cures. However, once they managed to sequence our genes, they found that we had about 20,000 human genes, which was a little puzzling because that meant we had about the same number of genes as a nematode worm, or less genes actually than a tomato, which has about 32,000. So this definitely came as a massive shock to the world of science. So that was 2003, and then in 2008, they did what was called the Human Microbiome Project. And doing this, they discovered that each of us has between 2 and 20 million microbial genes. So let me say that again. We have about 20,000 human genes, and we have between 2 and 20 million microbial genes. So this makes us about 10 times more microbe than human. So this was an enormous wake-up call to us, and it was also an enormously empowering body of information. And it is very, this is information that is less than 10 years old, and it is information that I didn't get taught when I did naturopathy, graduating in 1999, and it certainly is information that is causing a great stir and is a reason for a great deal of excitement, because it means that we now have far more information around what we need to be supporting in our bodies. So we've gone through this era of what I call germophobia, where we've been obsessed about sterilized everything, where now we know that we have this, we carry around, each of us, about 5 kilograms of these microbes, mostly bacteria, but there's also viruses and protozoa and fungi and helminths, and they're all working tirelessly like our own personal army to not only keep our physical health functioning properly, but also our mental health. So what does all this mean? What it means is that we need to support this, what's called our microbiota or our microbiome. And we do this by feeding it prebiotics, and then the probiotics is adding in more beneficial bacteria. So our bodies are really adapted to support this microbial community. So breastfeeding mothers are able to give their babies this really important formula, and the third highest ingredient in breast milk is something called oligosaccharides. And oligosaccharides are in fact not digestible by your new beautiful baby. They are there because they pass right through the stomach and into the small intestine and the colon, where they feed the burgeoning, this new microbiome. And we have the importance of fiber is something that we've talked about for a long time, but it was really, you know, talking about healing diarrhea and the importance of for helping constipation and things like that. But what we know now is that this resistant fiber needs to be in our diet because that's what's called prebiotic, and it is feeding this microbial community. So with this amazing body of microbes that are in our 90% of which reside in our gut, it would stand to reason that they're doing a pretty important job. They're not just hanging out there for a free ride. And they do. They help us to do everything from fight harmful pathogens. They protect us from cancer. They help us to digest our food, and they extract important nutrients from our food. We actually have our happy hormones, which are produced in our gut, serotonin and dopamine. So the microbes in our gut are responsible for allowing us to utilize and synthesize these important hormones. The list is innumerable, and we are still discovering new things all the time. So for the purposes of this video series, I'm trying to keep the videos really small. So what I'm going to do is actually break it down into two separate videos where we talk about the prebiotics and the probiotics. Because today's question was about probiotics, I'll focus on that for now. But in tomorrow's video, I'll talk about the prebiotics, and the prebiotics are the foods that we need to eat in order to support this all-important microbial community. Probiotics is adding in good bacteria. And how do we do this? Well, the question was, are probiotics a fad? And certainly not. In traditional, much older cultures than our own, probiotics or fermented foods are part of the daily diet. So things like sauerkraut, kimchi, soured milks, and properly prepared yogurts, and kefirs, and all these different foods are really, really important methods of preserving foods, but also they are there for to add in all these really beneficial bacteria. So definitely not a fad. It is a really, really good idea to start incorporating these foods, and variety is key. So just concentrating on one source is not going to give you the bacteria that you need. So you don't need to eat every different sort every day, but if you've gone through a jar of sauerkraut, then maybe look at adding in some kombucha or kefir or whatever it might be. Try different ones, experiment. It may take you some time to get used to the flavors, but I really strongly urge you to persist. And as is the ongoing message throughout all my videos, I always talk about food first. But in a culture where we have unfortunately become so reliant on antibiotics, which is like an atomic bomb to our microbiome, it is the case that we may need to turn to a therapeutic probiotic supplement. So when doing this, I really strongly urge you to go to a naturopathic practitioner or somebody, a functional medical doctor, integrative GP, that has a really good understanding of probiotics, and they can prescribe you a prescription only probiotic that is going to be very beneficial. I really have some concerns about people randomly going to the chemist and buying, or the health food store and buying these probiotics. I think that you may well be wasting your money for starters, and you are not doing the targeted kind of probiotic therapy that would be really good to do. So that is my thoughts on probiotics, and tomorrow I'll be back to talk to you about prebiotics. And this is how you can use your diet and the way that you put your vegetables together every day to really support this health. And once again, it is not just our physical health, but our mental health as well. Alright, that's it for today's video. I hope that's given you a great little snapshot of probiotics and our microbiome. If you would like to learn more about it in more detail, subscribe to my channel, and if you have a look through there, you will find a conference that was videoed that I did just in February of this year, which I did for a group of nurses, and it is put together in a way because these nurses weren't taught about the microbiome either. So it's put together in a way that's very easily understood. It is just in layman's terms. There are slides, and it makes it really easy to follow along. So I urge you to go and have a look at that. It is called To Kale or Not to Kale. And yeah, so that's another resource for you. Anyway, that's it from me today. Goodbye, and I'll be back with more tomorrow.